The information in this episode is current as of the date recorded and is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. You should consult your tax, financial, and or legal advisors before implementing any transactions and or strategies concerning your finances.
Hello, my name is Jakob Brost, and I'm an associate advisor at JGUA and Associates. Today, we're here to talk about one of my recent articles talking about politics and policy and how that relates to your investment portfolio. As if you haven't heard enough about politics in recent news and over the past couple months, I'm here to talk to you about it a little bit more, but more so how it pertains specifically to your investment portfolio and the market as a whole. Especially as elections come around, politics are always a big topic that we get questions on from clients. One of the main ones being, what should I expect in the market over the next couple of months as the election continues, and how will my portfolio do in the event that there's a downturn in the market as a result of the election. So one thing I like to say when given these questions is that it's really important to focus more on the policy relating to the election rather than the politics. And throughout this article, we'll get into more of what each of those are and how they differ, and how they can also play a part on your investment portfolio and the market. First, we're going to look at the politics side of the conversation. So in essence, politics is the competition and negotiation among each representative and party that basically goes into influencing policy decisions as overall. Pretty much I view it as a sort of show they put on to get support and possibly influence that policy, as I talked about. I mean, given the current conditions and the technology we have today, and especially the impact and power of social media, it's sort of par for the course, especially, no matter what side you're on or what side you support. Specifically, politics involves campaigns, lobbying, elections, and any other factors that help to influence the distribution of power and resources in the government. While an election itself is considered politics, and in total in this article I described how politics don't have as big of an effect, an election does kind of tend to have more of an effect than other parts of the politics, just because generally the two parties have very differing views on policy and what they'll do if they're elected. That being said, it tends to influence the market a little bit more than other parts of politics. But in all, the politics side of the conversation tends to lead to short-term effects on the market rather than the policy. So now let's get into the policy. Policy is specifically the tangible laws, regulations, and guidelines that essentially come from the politics side of things. It is the actual change that comes about from all of the politics and lobbying and everything like that. One policy issue that is pretty top of mind now is the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. This was introduced a couple years ago and made a bunch of changes to our tax laws and tax system. As it stands now, it's currently set to sunset in 2026 if nothing else changes. Some other examples of policy that you might know about is the CARES Act in 2020, the Affordable Care Act, trade policies, tariff impositions, and then also the Federal Reserve's decisions on monetary and fiscal policy. So now, relating these back to the market, these affect key influencing factors for many investors, which goes on to affect the market as a whole. Some of those key factors can be investor sentiment, corporate profitability, economic growth, and asset valuations. Again, all of these having big effects on investors and then the market as a whole. So now that we've kind of distinguished the two, let's go into some strategies on how you can kind of protect your portfolio in the event that politics or policy might have an effect on the market. One is diversification. Now, this is a pretty standard strategy whenever you're building your portfolio or investing. You always want to keep diversification in the back of your head. Pretty much it's the idea of not putting all of your eggs in one basket. And essentially, in terms of your portfolio, it limits the effect of any one event, company, region, or even sector can have on your portfolio. We find that with a lot of higher ups in big companies that might offer stock options or stock of any kind of their company, they tend to be really overweighted in that one company. So that's a big part of diversifying your portfolio to make sure if something were to happen for the company you're working for, the rest of your portfolio is properly diversified to help kind of weather that storm. Another big aspect that can help with the politics and policy and your portfolio is really looking at your goals for the account and as well as the time horizon. So for goals, if you're aiming to have this account fund maybe a down payment on a home in the next year, maybe the best bet is not to put it in the market just with all the volatility we're experiencing now and all the political problems and all the recent news that you've been hearing about. It may be better to take advantage of those higher CD rates or money market rates that are up at 4 and 5% and have more protection over your money while still allowing for that growth. And it's always important to take into account time horizon and goals, whether you're investing your portfolio or specifically worrying about politics and policy and how that might affect it. Some other strategies are just to stay informed on the news. It's pretty hard to miss nowadays between all the social media accounts, news, radio. It's just about anywhere you can find. So that's a big part of it. And then focus on the fundamentals of your portfolio. Don't try to chase stocks or time the market, and it usually tends to not work out very well in your favor. And then last but not least, if you still have more questions or more concerns, it's always great to seek professional advice and get some opinions there. So in a nice summary, kind of wrapping things all up, while the noise of politics is, will grab the headlines and be plastered all over social media, news outlets, radio, and that's really going to grab your attention. It's really important to focus on the substance of policy behind all of that politics, as that will affect the markets much more and on a much longer term basis than what those smaller politics might have. And whether it's stemming from legislative changes or even executive actions, it still has a large and lasting impact on the economy as a whole. Thank you for watching and hearing more about how politics and policy might affect your portfolio, especially in the upcoming months. If you'd like to hear more videos like this or more content revolving around your investments and financial planning as a whole, please subscribe to our channel through the lower right-hand corner. Thank you.